New at noon today, a judge rejected federal prosecutors' arguments that an Orange County imam committed tax fraud to fund terrorism against the U.S. military overseas. Marcus Robertson, a convicted felon, was sentenced to 1 year and 8 months for his tax fraud and illegal weapons convictions, but he will walk free today. Channel 9's Kathy Bellich broke this story of the arrest in 2011, and Kathy, Robertson has already spent twice the length of his sentence behind bars since his arrest.
Yeah, and the judge gave him credit for his time served. Federal Judge Gregory Presnell called the government's proof tying Robertson to terrorism woefully inadequate. Federal prosecutors objected and said in court they plan to appeal the three-time convicted felon's 20-month sentence.
Just because you have a gun and a round doesn't mean you shoot.
Convicted felon Marcus Robertson's supporters, his family members, friends, and Muslim rights activists left federal court all smiles this morning after hearing that Robertson will be released today. He spent almost 4 years behind bars after his arrest, days before the 10th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks in 2011.
We're absolutely delighted that the court saw fit to determine the terrorism enhancement didn't apply in this case. The court recognized that there was no evidence of it and that Mr. Robertson should be freed today.
U.S. Judge Gregory Presnell wrote in his sentencing ruling that Robertson was a very bad man as a leader of an armed robbery gang 20 years ago, but says there is not enough evidence to prove his motive for sending co-defendant Jonathan Jimenez to Mauritania was for terrorist training to wage an attack on U.S. military overseas. Jimenez told a government informant that he wanted to be a terrorist and that Robertson was training him to be a terrorist. Jimenez is serving a 10-year prison sentence for his actions in the case. But Robertson testified that his intention was to help the troubled Jimenez through religious training. The judge accepted Robertson's explanation, ruling that prosecutors wove bits of information out of context to create a connection between Robertson and terrorism. Now, the judge rejected Robertson's arguments that the case was based on racial and religious bias. Robertson is expected to be released later today. We will have more reaction to his sentence and what's next for him later today on Eyewitness News. Live in the newsroom, Kathy Bellich, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.